welcome to the next part of the Black Widow mods series. So far I've been actually working on trying to see if basically the setup that I had with the extruder last time, with the half steps and obviously the lower E steps values, etc., and also going the other way around, is helping my print quality. I did try about 4 or 5 prints, but unfortunately this is the last one that I printed, and as you can see, it is still pretty bad. This is slightly better than my last few prints, but yeah, this is nowhere near what it's supposed to be, obviously. So the next thing that I'm going to experiment with is actually cooling. My 40mm fan might not be enough to actually cool this, especially if the layer fan design that I'm using is bad, but I don't know for sure that yet. I used to have this Noctua fan running as a layer fan a really long time ago, but it worked out fine, so I'm not sure why it wouldn't work in this case, but I think that's a case still worth exploring, so I'm going to attempt that. Sorry for the bad audio quality, but I just want to give a demonstration of what I'm actually doing. As you can see, I have this fan set to the loudest speed, and yeah, you can see how strong the wind actually is, so this will definitely cool the object down better than that dinky 40mm fan, but this obviously has way more disadvantages, to the point where it's obviously not suitable for regular use, including the fact that it will cool down the nozzle, but this is just for testing purposes. So yeah, right now the extruder is heating up, so in a few hours we will see how well this worked, and depending on the result we will change our strategy. So I've been running this setup for a while now, and I think I have enough printed, so it's time to shut this thing down finally. It's starting to give me a headache anyway, so let's actually check the results. It's still printing obviously, but we should be able to see, especially if I grab this light. There you go. And yeah, as you can see, the print quality is pretty much perfect, and this makes it obvious that my layer fan cooling is not sufficient enough, because as I did that fan that I had, as you can see, it printed out perfectly. So at least it's good news that I figured out what the problem is. The bad news is, unfortunately, I don't have another 24-volt fan, at least not a 40mm one, so yeah, it will be tricky to figure out a different cooling solution for this. So I decided to try to go with a different layer fan design, and I went into Fusion 360 and designed a new thing. And yeah, the G-code viewer changed right in time, so just give it a second. As you can see, it has 2 fans on each side, so they are both 40mm fans, and yeah, I'll be using the same Noctua fans that I've been complaining about so far, because I don't have any other 40mm fans, at least not 2 of the same, and I'd rather use the same ones, so yeah, that's what I'm going to try. As I said before, I used the Noctua fan alone as a layer fan before I did the flex 3 drive extruder upgrade, and it worked fine, which makes me think that even one fan is enough. It's down to the layer fan mounting bracket design and the way the airflow is channeled, but still, my design is not at all complicated. It only took me like 3 hours to design, and yeah, you will see it in more detail after the print is done. So what I'm doing right now is just waiting for a few layers to finish. After that I'll start the fan again, because there are some 45-degree curves on the design. So yeah, that's about it. I'll come back to you with the design printed. I now have the part ready, and I already mounted one of the fans. I'm going to mount the next fan as well, but before I do so, I just wanted to show you what the design is. So as you can see, it's just 2 fans side by side. As I said, these are 40mm fans, and this part will be attaching on the back side of the carriage. Right now I have the machine running for some sort of a test print, not going to get into details of that, but I'm not going to be demonstrated, but basically it will just mount it on the back side like this on the carriage itself, and it will be blowing air downwards like so. And in case you're wondering, this is a 45mm angle, and yeah, we will see how well this works. And yeah, if this is a successful attempt, I'll also upload these files to Thingiverse, so if you're interested in that, and if the result was positive obviously as well, it will be linked in the description below in case you want to see this. I've had this print going for a few hours now with the new layer fan, and we will definitely take a closer look in a second, so don't think this is the only shot of this that you will get, but as you can see, the printing is working really well. I don't have the same problem here anymore, which is good. We can finally do our comparisons. It's been long enough since I've been talking about that. So yeah, hopefully we will get to that pretty soon. I will print this and the CTRLV torture test before I do that and do our comparisons that way. But the reason that I'm recording this right now is just to show you the layer fan. So as you can see back there, here are the two fans mounted at a 45-degree angle. It barely not touches the heat pad when the Z-axis is home, so there is enough space, but barely, but that's good enough for me. And as you can see, it's working really well. So the problem was with the layer fan design as expected, but yeah, that problem is gone now, so that's good at least. So now it's time to do our comparisons, but before I begin, I just want to remind you that we did change quite a few different things since I had my last comparison prints. When I had these last comparison prints, obviously I had a different board, the MKS Gen. I had different drivers, TMC2100s, and I had a different layer fan. So we did end up changing quite a few settings, and now I have obviously the duet Wi-Fi with the newer TMC2660 drivers and then the new layer fan. So this is not really exactly a perfect comparison. It's not the scientific way, so we'll need to try to isolate the differences to the certain parts of it if we want to make the best of it. So I'll try to do my best for that, but obviously it might not be perfect. So I'll begin with the 3D benches. Here they are, and this one is from the old extruder, and yeah, because I print in black, it's not the easiest thing to show, but I'll do my best. As you can see, the old setup had nearly perfect prints. It had a few zits in here, but it was nearly perfect. But as it started to go higher, as you can see, more problems started to form, and I feel like that's because of the fact that the MKS Gen board was 8-bit and the motors weren't derived properly because of that. As a result, I don't know, but anyway, it's like that. You can see the layer lines pretty clearly here as well if I hold it at the right angle. So you know, there are issues like that, but overall this was a pretty good print. And the text on the bottom had a little bit of an issue as well, but I might blame the printing surface for that, because as you might know, it's not really perfect at the moment. Now this is the new 3D Benchy print, and as you can see, I fixed the issues that we were having, but still the print isn't perfect here, and it's actually worse than the old print. So my layer fan cooling is worse on this setup, but you don't see any of the shifting issues here. It's pretty much perfectly printed along there, and you know, these wavy lines is due to the shape of my Black Widow. That's a common issue, and hopefully the MGN12 Reals will fix that. This issue was present on the old one as well. The text on the bottom, well, it's fine, but again, I might blame the printing surface for that. And you know, from the front it looks pretty good as well, and overall I feel like this was an improvement over the last the last board and the last drivers. And the only thing that's worse right now is the layer cooling, and yeah, that's because my layer fan design isn't really great. As I showed you before, it's just a 45-degree angle with two 40mm fans, and obviously you can do better than that, and I will do better than that in the future, but I don't want to delay the MGN12 Real stuff, so it will be after. And let's now look at the CTRLV torture tests, and this one is the old print and this one is the new print. So I'll begin with the old, and I'll begin as a general look over the top. You don't see anything weird other than some stringing, and let's start here where the V3 is. The thin walls are printed pretty much perfectly, other than the last one. They all printed perfectly, none of them merged, and the last one didn't merge either, but it's wider than it's supposed to be. And yeah, you can see here that there is some stringing on this thin tower, and that's, I feel like, the same issue with the old Benchy print. That's because the motors weren't wired well perfectly. It's the best way I can put it. That's the reason I'm assuming on that. The bent towers are printed fine, other than the stringing. On the semi-sphere thing, you can see quite a bit of lines, and again, I blame the TMC 2100 drivers and the MKS Gen board for that. And I'll come back to this in a second. We've done halfway of that, so let's do halfway through this. And yeah, looks like I have it mirrored here, but whatever, it's the same print, so we'll go on the same angle anyway. The walls are printed fine. These are printed, sorry, what way am I going again? The shapes are fine as well, and as you can see, the fin tower doesn't have any stringing, and that's because I think that I improved that. Again, I'm not going to explain it again. The semi-sphere thing has no stringing as well, and it looks pretty much perfect through the inside, but on the outside you can see some cooling related issues. I feel like I'm not 100% though on that, it might be something else. So going back to the old print, we can see that this circle isn't supposed to be properly aligned, and it's aligned here, and there's supposed to be a gap here, and you can see they merged. But this part, which is the torture test of the layer fan, printed perfectly. It's completely flat here. These very thin walls printed perfectly as well, but you know, I might have broken that myself, I'm not really sure, so I'm not going to blame the old printer for that. And this circle has a little bit of a stringing on top, but otherwise it's good. And yeah, I forgot and here is the curve on it. You can see the layers here, but again, it printed pretty nicely. On the newer one, the curve is pretty nice as well, and it's overall cleaner. Here it did merge as well, but you can see that it's a bit more separated. It did print a bit better here, but these are a problem. As you can see, there is a lot of drooping downwards, and that's because of the layer fan problem. These thin walls didn't print that great. Unfortunately, there are gaps in them. I'll need to try to figure out what the issue with that is. And same goes with this bowl. It's the upper layers of that didn't print perfectly as well, so it looks like just an set problem with the extruder not moving quickly enough, so maybe acceleration setting or something like that, but I'll need to go into that in more detail and try to figure it out. But otherwise, I still feel like this was a pretty decent improvement over the old setup, and yeah, after I fix the issues with the layer fan, which as I said I will do it after the MGN12 Real stuff, just so I don't delay that any further, I think the print quality will be even better. And yeah, I'll need to fix that acceleration setting as well, but that's not a big issue, it's just a firmware setting. So anyway, I feel like this was a big improvement, and yeah, it's time to talk about the MGN12 Real stuff. So it's time to talk about the MGN12 Rails. I've had these rails and the fake Chaiwan blocks for quite some time now, probably over a month. I haven't been able to work on this stuff for various reasons, and I'm not going to be able to work on this stuff today either. I just want to cover what happened and how I'm planning on using these. So yeah, that's what this bit's going to be about. I partly covered the issue in a channel update video with these fake MGN12 Chaiwan blocks. These aren't very easy to read, but basically all of these blocks had a few problems and they didn't really work that well. And yeah, I'm going to put up a few clips of that on the screen right now, so just so you can see how bad they were. But yeah, I basically had to talk to the seller at AliExpress, and he thought that sending these little steel balls could fix the issue. He instructed me to fill these up with these steel balls and then just remove 2 of them. I did. It didn't work at all, but only thing that it did was waste more than a month of my time. And after that, he instructed me to put these on the rails, which by the way, these are also Chaiwan rails, came together. And he said that I should click on the side, whatever that means. I assume he meant just knock on the side hard. I did, and it didn't help at all. And at that point, I was pretty convinced that these Chaiwan ones aren't going to work for me. So I ended up ordering 6 genuine MGN12 Chaiwan ones, and I did a quick video about these, showing you the differences underneath. But yeah, these look much higher quality, and all of these slide much smoother than the clone ones. They are a bit stiff, but I assume that's by design. And yeah, all of them feel exactly the same, so I am pretty sure these are the way that they're supposed to be, and hopefully they will be good as well, but we will see obviously. I have 2 500mm rails. These will go underneath the heat pad, and I have 2 450mm rails. These will go on the x-axis. And yeah, that's basically how I'm going to mount them. 2 of these will be used on these, and I have 4. I'm initially going to only use 2 of these on the y-axis, but I have a few plans of upgrading the heat pad in the future, and that's the reason that I ended up getting 4 for the heat pad. But yeah, that's not an immediate plan, and that's not for certain, so you know, things might change. So these ended up costing me $20 each, so 6 of these are $120. That's why I decided to go with the Chaiwan one first. These cost about $5, and yeah, you can, as I said, very easily see the quality difference between those two. But I still probably ended up making a slight profit by ordering fake ones, and the reason is I'm still using the fake ones rails, but the quality on these seem pretty good, and yeah, while sliding these I don't feel any weirdness at all. So I'm trusting the rails are good, and if I ended up ordering genuine Chaiwan rails as well, then yeah, it would have cost a fortune, so I am still making a slight profit. But still, I wouldn't advise you to go with the clone ones, because as I said, the quality is horrible. I supposedly ordered from a good seller with a lot of reviews and also a few recommendations over at the Black Widow owners group, and still it ended up being terrible. So yeah, I don't recommend you to go with the clone ones at all. If you want to save money, go with the genuine ones, but don't buy as many rails as I did. Just buy 1 rail for the x-axis, for example, instead of 2. You can probably get away with that. And for the y-axis, just use
smooth bearing rods and goose bearings or something like that, and yeah, that's a way of making this cheaper. But don't go with the clone ones, because as I said, they ended up being horrible. So yeah, as for when I'm going to do this upgrade, well, I don't want to promise anything, but it will probably be in the next video. I'm still waiting for a few parts, like I need M3 T-nuts for example, because the holes on these are M3. I have T-nuts, but they're M4, so yeah, I need to receive those. So, and a few other things as well, plus I need to design a few parts on the I need to design a few parts to mount the heat bed and the carriage, etc. So yeah, there is still some stuff to do. So yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like down below, and thanks for watching.